Hello and welcome to my channel. I am Leo Vidal and today I'm going to show you how to blue hands. Bluing is the last process, so if you only want to polish your hands, this video is also for you. Before you can blue hands, you have to prepare them for the bluing. Firstly, you need to remove all rust if present, and then you need to remove the pitting from the rust and also any scratches and imperfections. I wouldn't advise removing deep scratches and pitting completely because that could potentially remove too much material and alter the shape of the hands. You should make the hands as perfect as you can, but not at the cost of altering the shape of the hands. Now let's have a look at everything that you will need for this job. You will of course need the hands that you will be polishing and bluing, but I would advise you to get some hands you can test it on. eBay is your friend, you should be able to find suitable hands for testing. A staking block. You will be better off getting the Indian block rather than the Persian one. The Indian block is much larger than the Persian one on the left, and you will need a real estate when you are polishing the hands. Diamond pastes. These are ideal for the job. You can buy individual syringes or a set. The grit in my set is from 400 to 25,000. For example, here we get grit 4,000. The prices of them vary. You can get them very cheap or you can pay a lot of money for them. As far as I know, the price depends on the percentage of the diamonds in the paste. And of course, 10% diamonds and 90% paste will be cheaper than 50% diamonds and 50% paste. Ceramic files. These are Glardon Valorbe and they come in all sorts of shapes, sizes and grits, so you can obtain the ones that will be most suitable for the job you will be doing. This one is pillar shape, the grit is 1200 and the size is 2 mm by 1 mm. You need separate file holders for different sizes of ceramic stones. This one is square, 1 mm by 1 mm, and the grit for the blue stone is 800. The files are secured in the holders with the square rings. There is probably not such a thing as a square ring, but I'm sure you know what I mean. You can slide them up and down to loosen the stone for removal or adjustment, or secure the stone in place. They are comfortable to use and hold. The holders are textured to give you a good grip while you are using them to avoid slippages. You can also get round ceramic stones. The one I have here is 2.34 mm in diameter and the grit is 1200. These are ideal for curves. The different grits you can buy are from 220 to 3000. I keep them in the tubes and mark them so I know what they are. Lapping film and microfinishing film. I'm not using these extensively like the diamond pastes, but they are handy. You can use them to remove deeper scratches, but they have to be used with care not to bend the hands. They come in different grits and from my experience the lapping film is finer than the microfinishing film. 600 lapping film is roughly equivalent to 1200 microfinishing film. You will need the coarser ones, not the finer grit. For the lapping film, the 350 and 600 grit would be a good choice. Gentian wood. This is extremely handy for polishing. It's denser than pithwood and more flexible than boxwood. You can use it with all sorts of polishing products, powders, liquids, solids, etc. In this case, I will be using it with the diamond pastes. You can cut it to any shape you like. As you can see, this one is very pointy. I needed it to get into a crevice and it did the job very well. I use a scalpel for cutting and shaping the wood. You simply cut it along the length of the piece to get the width you require. You can also cut it to any length you need. I keep it the full length, and when I change the paste I cut the end off with the previous paste and shape it again for the next paste I will be using. Rust remover. This solution is based on phosphoric acid. You need to submerge the hand in the solution and leave it in for 10 minutes or so, depending on how rusted the hands are. When you remove the hand from the solution, you will need to rinse the hand in clean water. Cleaning solutions. I use this to clean the hands between paste changes. You need to remove the paste before you move on to the next one. Isopropyl alcohol. I use this solution as the final clean before bluing. Essence jars. These are very handy to keep your cleaning solutions in. They are designed and manufactured to minimize the evaporation of the cleaning solutions. You could use anything, small jam jars would be fine, but they wouldn't minimize the evaporation as much as these jars. Cleaning brushes. I use the cheap one on the left when I'm removing the paste from the hands and the better brushes on the right for the finer clean in isopropyl alcohol. All three are size 2, which I found the most suitable size, but a size larger would be fine too. Watchmaker's bench vise. This is the cheap vise and it does the job well. The jaws are smooth but are not absolutely parallel like the Swiss vise. That doesn't really matter because you will be holding the hands in a very small section of the jaws, and the way the jaws are is sufficient for this job. Brass or copper tray. This is not the most charming tray, but it is the right size and works well. I'm using a small steel vise as a handle. You will need a towel or a glove as the handle gets rather hot. Small and thin tray works well as you can adjust the angle. Brass shavings. These can be purchased on eBay and they are to be placed in the brass tray. The hand you will be bluing will be placed on the brass shavings. The brass shavings are there to distribute the heat more evenly. If you have the option to purchase fine shavings, go for that option. You will be able to place the hand better on the fine shavings. You do not need much, 250 grams will last you a long time. Micro torch. The one I have is a cheap one. If I remember correctly, I bought it in a supermarket and it was sold as a torch for creme brulee. As you can see, this one is kitchen craft. Easy to fill in from the bottom, easy to use, but be careful, the flame is very hot. Butane gas. You will need this for the micro torch. You can purchase these in supermarkets, but you can also buy them online. They are inexpensive. Alternatively, you can use an alcohol lamp instead of the micro torch. I prefer the micro torch because it is quicker than using the alcohol lamp. They both work, use whichever you prefer. If you are going to use the alcohol lamp, you will need methylated spirits to fuel the lamp. Most likely, you will need to order it online. Last but not least, you will need something to place the hot bluing tray with the blued hand on something. I'm using a soldering board, but you could use a plate, chopping board or anything else that will withstand the heat. Before you start preparing your hands for bluing, you need to ensure that the hands can be blued. Hands are made out of different materials, they can also be plated, and not every hand can be blued. I use a simple test. I can't guarantee that this is a foolproof test, but it worked for me. I use a magnet to see how the hands react to magnetism. I have a couple of hands here to demonstrate how this test works. Let's have a look at the first hand. I am very close to the hand. The hand doesn't want to get on the magnet very easily. Now let's have a look at it in slow motion. The hand sticks to the magnet, but the reaction is somewhat slow. Now let's have a look at the second hand. That is far more responsive to the magnetism than the first hand. It literally jumps onto the magnet. There is a big difference between these two hands. I found that the hands that launch themselves onto the magnet can be blued and the others can't. Now let's have a close look at the two hands. This one has a larger spade than the other. There are some scratches and minor rust. The sides don't look too bad, some rust, but nothing major. The hub itself is not very finely finished. You can see the scratches there. Inside doesn't look too bad. When I turn it over, it's actually looking quite good. It's not perfect, but it doesn't need much work doing to it. Small speck of rust on the stem, and the spade itself is pretty clean. The second hand, the spade is not too bad, but there is a texture to it. That won't be too difficult to smooth the surface of the spade. However, when we look at the side, it is very rusty. That will need sorting out. Same for the hub. It's very rusty. The inside, partially the top, it's not looking good at all. When I turn it over, the underside is covered in rust. It's pretty bad. The hub, the stem, the spade and the tip are very rusty. I'm going to submerge this hand in the rust remover and we'll see how it's going to look afterwards. After it's been in the rust remover, I rinsed the hand in water and now I'll scrub it a little bit with one of the better brushes as the bristles are stiffer and I want to dislodge any particles of rust if possible. This is penetrating oil, which is mainly kerosene, but you could use a cleaning solution such as Horosolv, Renata, or you could also use IPA. The hand is looking better now. There was a lot of rust on it before. Now when you look at it, it looks patchy, but majority of the rust is gone. There is still some rust in places, but the ceramic files and the diamond pastes will take care of that. The inside of the hub was covered in rust and now it's looking far better than it did before. And when I turn it over, it looks very good considering that we have not started with the diamond pastes yet. The underside was covered in rust and now we can actually see the steel. It's not pretty yet, but we have several more steps ahead of us. I'll put the hand into the ultrasonic and we'll have a look at it, what it looks like afterwards. This is Elma Red, which is ammoniated solution. I like the ammoniated solutions, they give it that extra sparkle, you just have to be careful and don't keep it in the solution for too long. I never keep it in for more than 5 minutes. I'll also put the other hand in with the larger spade. This one still has the bluing on it, so it will be interesting to see how the ultrasonic and the ammoniated solution affects the oxidized layer. There is barely any rust on it now. I'm not sure whether the ultrasonic helped much, but it didn't do any harm. It wouldn't matter if you skip this step. I wouldn't normally do it, but I wanted you to see how the hands look after the clean. Every step is incremental. This is not a job that is finished in 5 minutes. And as you can see, the ultrasonic and the ammonia didn't affect the bluing in any way. It looks cleaner, but some of the imperfections are more obvious than they were before. If you just wanted to clean some blued hands, you could safely put them in the ultrasonic. The underside was quite good before, but there is some shine to it now. The little speck of rust is still there, but that will be gone when we apply the diamond paste. This is the Gentian wood, very easy to work with. I use a scalpel because it's of course very sharp, but the blade is also thin. You could do it with a Stanley knife or any other knife too. The scalpel makes it just a little bit more easier to work with. You can shape it any way you want. You can cut it at an angle so the base is wider than the top. You can shape it the way I do it right now. You can shape it to a point, anything you like. This is the coarsest paste. The grit is 400 and I will be starting with this one. I found the coarser the paste, the more difficult to work with. It doesn't like to stay in place like the finer grits, but it's no big deal. You can still work with it. Get it on the Gentian wood. As they say, tweezers are watchmakers' hands. This is also your hand, or more like a finger you can polish with. It's not necessary to polish the underside, but for the purpose of this video, and considering that this hand was very rusty, I will show you what is possible. Place the hand on a staking block, grip it with brass tweezers, relax and start polishing. Now let's have a look at the underside. It is looking so much better and we've only used 400 grit. There is some pitting, but I will stop here. There is no point removing more material from the underside, you'd only make the hand thinner. I've also done the other hand with the larger spade, so let's have a look at both of them from a distance. I'm happy with that, it doesn't need polishing anymore. It looks good enough for the underside that will never be seen. The time and effort will be better spent on the top side that will be seen. This is how I tackle the sides. Put the hand in your vise, but don't grip it too hard. The hand should move with very little resistance. Lay it on its side and use your staking block as a support. You can rest the tip of the hand on the staking block. The hand is held firmly by the jaws, but not too much to cause any damage to the hand. Polishing the top side will be the last step, so should you cause any blemishes with the jaws, you will remove them when you polish the top side. I'm going to start with grit 400. I'll also use the ceramic files, add the paste, then I'll move on to the top. I'll try grit 800 and see how it looks. Every hand will be different. Use the paste and files accordingly. Now it's time to get down to business. This is already looking much better, even though so far I've only used 800 grit paste. We have plenty more paste to go through. I can't remove the pitting completely, it will alter the shape of the hand. There is some shine to it now, but the deep scratches on the spade are now more apparent. The sides look a little bit rough. I'm going to use the ceramic file to smooth it out. The hub had some scratches on it and it's now looking much better than what it did before. I worked all the way up using all the paste up to grit 25,000 and this is the result. You could almost say that it looks like black polish. I'm very happy with the result. The other hand looks also good. The top and the sides of the hand look nice, it all looks very shiny and the hands are ready for bluing. To get a more realistic picture, I'll zoom out and show you the hands from distance. When there is no light reflecting off the hands, they turn black. Looks beautiful. It's a slow process but well worth it if you want to achieve a good mirror finish. Now it's time to put the brush shavings in the tray. You don't need much, it all depends on the size of your blue-in pan. Mine is quite small but big enough. Just a bit of shavings on the teaspoon is enough. There will be impurities and you need to burn them off before you put the hand on it and start bluing. This step is absolutely necessary. There could be machining oils, the shavings could have been swept off the floor, there could be all sorts of impurities that will ruin the finish of your hands. Get it under the flame and shortly you will see smoke coming out of the tray. Hold it there, move the tray a little, back and forth, in circles, until there is no smoke coming out of it. This is all in real time. I've not sped up the footage so you can see it in real time. You can clearly see the smoke coming out of it now. It doesn't last too long. The handle is getting a little warm now, but it's still fairly comfortable to hold. Now it's stopped, but I will continue for a short while to make sure that all impurities are burnt off. Wait for a few moments, it's not going to cause any harm. If you have a steel handle like me, it might be a good idea to wear a glove. It's okay for about 1 minute, but then it starts getting quite hot. The hand's been cleaned in IPA, it's been under the flame for a few moments and you can see the color slowly changing. Instead of moving the tray above the flame, I'm moving the flame below the tray so you can see it well. Now you can see it turning purple and I'm aiming to leave hints of purple on this hand so we can see how it's going to look. Now quench the hand in water or oil. This is our second hand. When you get the color you are aiming to achieve, move it away from the flame. You don't have to rush to take the hand out to quench it in water or oil. As soon as you move it away from the flame, the process will stop. It won't carry on changing colors. Quench it as soon as you can, but don't panic. I tried water and oil and to be honest, I cannot tell the difference. For that reason, I quench it in water because I don't have to use degreasing solution afterwards. Now let's have a close look. There are some imperfections on the spade and we can also see hints of the purple. And when we look at the hub, it's dark when there is no light reflecting off the surface. And when we turn it towards us, we can see the beautiful hints of purple. It looks stunning, real eye candy. This is the second hand and the spade is not looking good. It will need redoing. It's not as difficult as it sounds. All you need to do is to use the last paste you used, in my case grit 25,000, and that will remove the blue in and keep the surface mirror polished. The hub is looking good, but this hand will need to be redone. Let's not forget we're viewing it under a macro lens, so before I redo the hand, we'll have a look at it from a distance to see how visible the imperfections are. This is the hand that had spots on the spade and as you can see they are not visible from a distance. The hand looks absolutely fine. I love the purple on this hand, it looks beautiful. I've redone them both. This one was the one with hints of purple and this time I went for dark blue colour. I definitely prefer the purple to look at, but I'm not sure whether I'd like to wear it. There are a lot more watches I love than I would actually wear. And the second hand, the spade is now looking good. All the imperfections are gone. It really doesn't take long to strip the oxidation layer. It's a bit of a hassle to get all the tools out and tidy up afterwards, but you certainly do not need to go several steps back with coarser grits. Just use the one you used for the final finish and that will strip the layer and keep your hand nicely polished. I've done more hands than I showed you. The couple on the left are not finished to such a high finish as the other two that you saw in the video, and as you can see, you can hardly tell the difference. It is unlikely you will see it on your phone, but if you're viewing it on a large screen and look carefully, you will see some imperfections on the two hands on the left. The tips look a little pale, but I can assure you that's the reflection of the lights. It can be time consuming to achieve high quality finish, and the difference can be hardly seen. It is up to you how much time and patience you have. I hope you found it helpful and will be encouraged to try it for yourself. If you enjoyed the video and found it helpful, I would appreciate if you could give it thumbs up so more people will get to see it and help them with this task. I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.